Meeting. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to apologize for Councilwoman Colleen Baker, but she had a family emergency, so she's not going to be here today. And we do want to keep on task with track because I have another meeting at 3 o'clock and then one at 5 tonight. So just kind of mentioning that so we stay on track. That's fine. And we are gonna, there you go, sorry. We are going to, on item number 4, discussion. We are going to be discussing, we're going to change that and put B before A. We're going to do discussion of farmer's market. Now, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, good.
thank you.
So let's see here. The Finance Committee is a standing subcommittee consisting of 2 council members, currently myself and Colleen Baker, the city manager, the city finance director, says the city treasurer, but the Finance Committee considers and makes recommendations on matters referred to it by the city council relating to finance, budget, audits, capital planning, and data. Public participation is limited to those items listed on the agenda. If your comments do not concern an item listed on this agenda, please address the city council at the next regular meeting. Excuse me. It says, please address the Finance Committee at the next regular meeting. I think I'm going to scratch that. Is that okay with you, sir? The city requests that persons addressing the Finance Committee refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. Committee members, when recognized by the committee chair, may ask questions from the presenter, but no action may be taken by the committee during the public comment section of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, the committee is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. So please speak from the podium. Please state your name for the record. Prior to providing your comments, please address the committee as a whole. If you have documents, please present a minimum of, honestly, 4 or 5 would be great. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And remember that goes up and down. So if you're tall or you are vertically challenged, you can go up or down. If you're vertically challenged, either way. So this is, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to restate something I think you were about to state. If you're here for an item that's on the agenda, you'll have an opportunity to give public comment at that time.
Yeah. So this is the time for Finance Committee or City Manager to respond. Oh, well, we don't have any general public comment. Do we have any general public comment? Not on an item on the, it's not on an item on the agenda. Now's the time.
You want to know.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Well, you're going to have time in just a minute. So this is the time for Finance Committee or City Manager to respond to public comments and directing staff to prepare a report or place an item on a future agenda. And because there are no comments on the general, then we're going to go ahead and move ahead. So we're going to go to 4B. As long as that's okay with the committee too, right?
Yes.
We're going to leave 4A for later because you guys are all here. We're going to go to 4B, which is discussion regarding Wairika Farmers Market. And Debbie, are you going to lead? Is somebody going to take the lead here on the committee, or are we going to allow Debbie to speak?
Jason's gonna speak.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead
Okay,
and
Jason.
I'm going to go ahead and preface this, and then Deb, are you prepared to speak? Perfect.
Thank you.
So obviously, you know, it's a small community, and so most of us know Deb Scott and Deb and Guy Scott and their venture over at the coffee shop Zephyr, and inevitably selling it here recently has led an opportunity for Deb to look at other opportunities within the city to improve the community, and so she's ventured down the path of the possibility of taking over the farmers market and taking the farmers market in a different direction that would mean shutting down Minor Street from, I believe, the 300 block, so 4th Street to Oregon, And so she's devising a strategy really to increase traffic on that street, have a very inclusive event. But she's come into an impediment based off of policy talks that we've had over the 2 years that I've been here, which is to really drive the cost of the city for events down and not necessarily allow the city to take over the financial responsibility of the closure of the street. And then we have some historical relevance as to some folks believing that in the past, certain merchants didn't like the street being shut down. And so ultimately, Debbie worked through events with Alia here, and Alia crunched numbers, as was the direction of this finance committee, for each event that was going to close on the particular day of the week, resulted in a cost of $521.09 to the city. And I believe over the course of the time period that the farmers market would be open, the cost was relatively somewhere in the ballpark of $10,000, I believe. Is that roughly correct, Alia?
How many events are proposed? How many weeks?
Was it?
Oh, it was, it's a rough number, late May to late October.
Okay.
So, yeah, I believe it was around that.
Okay, so yeah, it was somewhere around $10,000. And so ultimately, we went back and let Deb know that, and we worked with folks internally, and based off the direction that the committee and our understanding of the council's intention, we basically came back and were trying to advise Deb to seek another location that did not require the street to be closed. Deb came back and was pretty adamant on her idea. And quite frankly, I support the idea of a farmer's market on Minor Street. But that's really, we're here today to get perspective, not only from this committee, but from the council members that sit on this committee. And so as we had the visioning statement from our community development director and that exercise at our last city council meeting, we could see that there's a desire for things to do and creating a sense of community. And so ultimately, when you look around the state, me personally, when I do travel, I generally go down to Southern California with my family, and we make it a point that on Thursday, we show up in San Luis Obispo on our way home. We spend a couple of days there. We show up on Thursday because they have an incredible street fair and farmers market, and we love to participate in that. And so we know that there's not necessarily financial value, hypothetically, to the city, but there is some level of value and community to the idea of having a farmer's market on Minor Street, driving traffic to Minor Street for people that normally would not go there. As you're aware, the farmer's market currently was taking place Wednesday mornings over at the fairgrounds and was not really an inclusive space. I've never participated in it because I work, so I never get to go. And so what we're here today to discuss, and we'll have Deb come up to the podium, is whether or not the city thinks that they can allow this to happen, and whether or not the city thinks they can waive the cost of the fee in order for it to happen. So Deb, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. And thank you guys for being here. I'm sorry that Councilwoman Baker couldn't attend, but I just want you to know that I really appreciate you guys. I know you guys work hard and you have a lot of tasks to do. It's a lot. So I appreciate the time and the opportunity to come back, bring this to the table again. So I'm going to ask you, I don't know, I sent in a presentation. I don't know if we have that available. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and pop that up and we'll go through that a little bit. So I'm going to ask you guys a few just rhetorical questions, and for the audience as well. When you think about attending a farmer's market, what is your expectation of that experience? What do you expect to feel? What do you expect to see? And, where do you expect to see it? Which is kind of the question at hand. So while Cindy's bringing the presentation up, I sent this slideshow in a couple of days prior to the city council meeting on Tuesday, and I watch online. So I was able to see that. And so the comments I have don't really flow with the presentation, so it's fine, but I wanted to state exactly how this particular vision and plan for our downtown farmers market meets the guiding principles of the 2044 general plan that was adopted last week by the city council. Good job, you guys. It's awesome. Number one, as I'm kind of restating some of the things that Mr. Ledbetter stated, but the farmers market provides access to local food. Specifically, it supports agriculture and farmers, and quote, gives the community a local connection to their food source. Juliana, who commented during the survey process for the general plan, the community expressed an interest in Victory Gardens and returning to and developing more backyard gardens and urban agricultural opportunities. A farmer's market is one way that the community can be inspired to do just that. And I know I have some backyard farmers in my audience, and they're very enthusiastic about the idea. It just is another way for us to connect to local food, and supporting our local agriculture is really important. So aside from supporting local agriculture, the farmers market's also a small business incubator. You may not know this, but Zephyr Books and Coffee started at farmers market. This is my logo. I had a banner, I couldn't find it, but Happy Treats. And we were, that's how it all began. So what started as a booth at farmers market became a brick and mortar and became kind of a staple in our community and a staple for downtown. Do you have the slides, Cindy? Oh, sad face.
Did you email them to me?
I sent them to you, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna pull them up on my computer just so I can follow along since they're not up on the screen.
Cindy, Emily will email them to you right now if you get them, if you can pull them up at that point.
Supporting local agriculture, supporting small businesses. So Zephyr Books and Coffee started at farmers market. The Siskiyou Community Food Bank started from the farmers market. And really it was the inception of our farmers market was from Willie and Cliff. In the excess of their crops, they managed to use that as an opportunity to start a food bank in our community. And that food bank's been going strong ever since, which is great. Additionally, Juliana's outreach efforts to downtown merchants during the general planning process and surveying process specifically noted that the merchants want more events, and more events mean more foot traffic for downtown businesses. And finally, the farmers market supports the community's desire for a sense of connection to the land, to people, and to the community, and gives them a way to show pride in those things. I specifically quoted that from Juliana's presentation at City Council. Are you familiar with the concept of a third space? Third space is this cool, trendy new thing that the hip kids are talking about. A third space is some place that isn't work and isn't home. It's a place for people to meet up, connect, foster relationships, such as coffee shops, the karate studio, libraries, bars, and churches. These are third spaces. And that's what farmers market is. In a world that lives in virtual spaces more and more, we need places to meet people face to face, especially wholesome places, healthy places. And I think the community survey Juliana conducted, it was mentioned that there were few places to take a date in our community, especially that don't revolve around alcohol. And a farmer's market is entertainment. And that's kind of what I wanted to get at with, you know, what you envision, what comes to mind, what pops in your head. It's the food, yes. It's the crafts and the artisans, yes. But it's entertainment. It's something to do. It's a place that, you know, someplace to go, something to do in our community. And that attracts friends, it attracts families, and it attracts tourists. So, oh, there it is. Great timing. All right. So Cindy, just plow through those slides. And this is, just some great images of some downtown markets. And they bring downtown vitality, tourism. Go ahead, keep going. Community spirit and photo opportunities, great selfies, health, education for our young people. Go ahead. And local agriculture and small business. Okay, one more. So here's the vision. The first thing that we want to do is meet the expectations of the community. So in order to exceed those expectations, which is my goal, is to exceed them, I want to at least start by meeting them. So to do that, we have to have a visible location. It has to be in people's face. They have to be able to see it or they're not going to go to it. It has to be accessible and it has to be aesthetic. The time of day is important and the day is important so that all members of the community can participate. A lot of comments I got was, I never go because I have to work. We get that. And we want to recognize that customers want to have a great experience. Providing a clean, safe, friendly, courteous, professional environment is the key to a successful market. Go ahead, Cindy. So step 2 is to take it the next step and exceed those expectations. And I want to do that by serving our vendors predominantly. You need to have quality vendors at a farmer's market in order to have customers. People want to see certain things and they want it to be awesome. So first step is the venue. That's why we're here today. This is my first choice. If the council sees it differently or if the committee sees it differently, then I have plan Bs that are less beneficial for everybody, but probably more beneficial to the market, if I'm being honest. So I want to provide excellent service to our vendors, and I want to get more vendors by education and mentoring new vendors. And quantity of vendors. That's the other thing, is if you have like this tiny little sparse market, it's not as attractive. So we need to get more vendors. So we're going to keep the barriers really low. Go ahead, Cindy. All right. And then finally, lots of marketing. This was comments I got. People don't know about it. They haven't heard about it. We know all the marketing rhetoric, lots of social media, websites, all the good things. Next. And finally, we want to add more than just selling stuff. So we want musicians, entertainers. We want to create that third space. So seating where people can like sit and talk and have a table and just hang out at the market. Theme days, classes, activities for kids, vendor booth, community outreach, collaborations with other organizations, art councils, things of that nature. And I want to bring in a collectibles market, makers market. Some call it a flea market, but I don't want to give it a bad name. It's going to be really cool, not lame. Okay, next one. So we want to promote downtown Wairika. That's why I'm coming here first. This is my first choice because we want to make it beneficial for everybody. You have an opportunity to be a destination, just like Mr. Ledbetter mentioned in San Luis Obispo. We want to add quality of life for the residents that live here, and we want to help the downtown merchants. So I'll speak a little bit more on that later. Go ahead, Cindy. Past markets have been Wednesdays from 10 to 1, and these are some of the locations that the market has resided. The fairgrounds, it was on Main Street, just a little bit south of where Juan sets up. And that was a great location. It was a nice grassy little knoll at one time, looked really attractive. Tri-Counties Bank parking lot and Broadway were closed off at one point. And it has been where I'm proposing it now, which is Minor Street, 300 block. So go ahead, Cindy. The next bit of info is that I went to the community, and here are the survey results. I used the magic of social media marketing, and I got 100 responses. And this is what people said when asked, where would you like to see it? This was not multiple choice. It was fill in the blank. You say what you want to say. People said a lot of random things here and there, but predominantly they said they would like to see it downtown. The second choice was Main Street. The third choice was back at the fairgrounds, and then just random other locations. Next is the day. And most people preferred Saturday. I'm shooting for Fridays, and there's a reason for that. Go ahead, Cindy. The other markets in the communities around us are on those days. So Mondays, Mount Shasta, that's our apex market. We know that. Wednesdays is weed, which is a hot contender. The vendors love the weed market. Thursdays in Dunsmuir, which isn't super applicable to us since it's so far away. And Saturdays is Etna. So that's one of the reasons I'm shooting for Friday. Go ahead. And time of day, this was what the community responded with. Now, the next 7 slides or so, Cindy, if you just pop through those just kind of at a pace so we can just glance at them. These are some of the comments that people made about how to improve the market. So just go ahead and pop through those next, locations, advertising, keep going. And go all the way down till you get to the graph, because I summarized these responses through the magic of math and reading. All right, so the comments were location, day and time, more vendors, more advertising. Those are the 4 points that predominantly people said would improve our market. So the proposal is, go ahead. Next one, Fridays from 3 to 6 p.m., 300 block a minor. And the next slide is a picture of the block in case you guys don't know. Elks and Zephyrs and Shop Serendipity and Strings, basically that block. And so the next slide is parking, and parking's an issue. I just made a quick note on this map of where people would park. There's a couple parking lots. There's a couple on-street parking opportunities. And so parking's an issue. Yep, I get it. But I don't know, merchants, you can state, would you rather have cars parked in front of your shop or people? And I'm gonna guess people. So we're gonna go forward. So the next step was like, okay, go ahead, Cindy, to the next one. What do the merchants, how do the merchants feel? So I did a similar survey and just asked the merchants only. 95% of them said, yes, we support a downtown farmers market. There was one merchant who did not support it. And go ahead to the next one. And when asked, how enthusiastic are you about it? 80% were 5 stars enthusiastic. 12 were 4 stars enthusiastic, and 1 was a big sad face. So on here, I said 10 out of 17. I had more responses come in after this. So it's more like 15 out of like 17, 15 out of 20 respondents are in favor of this. So the next slide is the cost that was broken down for me, the $521.09. And the next slide. So I wanted to just point out what other farmers markets do. I spoke to Mr. Kellogg, the planning director for Mount Shasta, asked them, like, what do you guys do? And the market pays $375 for their whole season. And Public Works drops off their barriers on the market day. They train volunteers to put them up. They spend a couple weeks making sure it's done properly. And then the volunteers from the market remove the barriers, set them aside in a designated location. And the next day, Public Works picks them up. So that's, one option. And then there's just a note of other downtown farmers markets. So other farmers markets, I don't know if Nancy's here. There you are. Hi, Nancy. She would be able to speak with more authority about how the Mount Shasta Farmers Markets is handled. So that's my presentation to you. Like I said, I really appreciate your time. I know it took a few minutes to get through that. So with that, thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. So is there any more discussion or do we want to open up to public comment?
I think I just have one last point, and maybe Debbie can clarify this, but I believe before she can move forward to really expand out what this thing's gonna look like and give it an official start date, the crux here is that she needs to know the location. Is that pretty?
Yeah, I can't really do anything till I kind of get something penciled in that's like pretty doable, because I got to tell vendors like, hey, this is the location, this is the daytime. And then I can start recruitment and all the other things that go along with it.
Are you talking about someplace other than the 300 block then? Is there something I'm missing?
If you guys don't approve for it, if it doesn't get passed, then I'll have to find another location.
Mhm.
And that location will not be downtown.
What would your you said you had your second location. What would it be?
Probably on Main Street again, because that's what's best for the market. It's the most visible location is Main Street. People are going to see it. They're going to go, oh, farmer's market, and pull over and go to the
So
market.
just a parking lot on Main Street.
I haven't pursued any locations, but I have some notions.
Because it wouldn't, well, because the Caltrans isn't gonna let you block the street off.
Oh, no, I wouldn't close down Main Street. It'll be off the side of Main Street.
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
ascertain.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
thank you. Because I know that's what other councilmen people are gonna ask. Thank you.
Okay.
So now, do we have any public comment? Anybody wants to come up and talk about it? Just come up and if you would, please state your name and for us so that we have that. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Marie Autry. I think that the farmer's market's great, but I'm not okay with subsidizing. Now at $10,000, seriously? No. Minor Street Park, perfect. It's enough room. It's a park. It's perfect. There's parking. It's absolutely perfect. Why can't we use Minor Street Park? There's bathrooms. It's absolutely perfect. You don't have to close down anything. You're not going to be charging us because aren't you also the one who said you don't want to subsidize? This is subsidizing. This is not okay. Thank you.
Carol Krebin. I've been a farmer's market person for 20 years, and Wairika is not friendly to farmer's market. I don't know what the problem is, but we tried to get it on Main Street when Larry Stidham's lot became unavailable to us, and City Hall said, go out to Motel 6. What a stupid idea. There's nobody that goes by there. That is not an attractive place. People don't pull in there. We've got to be where people can see us, because a lot of people love farmers market, but they don't generally remember, oh, it's not like going to church, you should do that every Sunday. But farmers market is a wonderful outlet for people. They come and even the poor people that use EBT cards, and I'm not sure they're all poor, but they're wonderful people, and they come and they love it. And we have repeated EBT cards and WIC people and all sorts of things. It is the most wonderful thing to have Siskiyou County grown food in our Siskiyou County people. How do you really like having your food come from South America or China or somewhere else? Where what kind of fertilizer did they use? You just need to think about this. This is a wonderful idea. And we need to put ourselves and think about what would we like on our dinner plate? Would you like it to be on a truck for 2 weeks and sprayed with some kind of crazy thing? Or would you like to get it out from Little Shasta, Montague, or the surrounding areas? You just need to think about that. And people right here, and you people get to make the decision. What is good for us? And do we need to subsidize it? There's a very little cost to having a wonderful outreach for us. And we don't even have a Chamber of Commerce that functions anymore that says, hey, look at this. We don't have a phone, not a phone. We don't have a radio station or a decent newspaper the communication is just really pitiful. So what are we gonna do? Are we going to be proactive and march along? And we subsidize everything. I mean, you're subsidizing those people up on the hill, which contribute nothing but problems. So let's do something that really benefits the community. Carol Crubben, finished.
Lorenzo Love, there's been 6 farmer markets in Wairika that I can remember. They all failed for various reasons. I sold at 3 of them, site manager at 2 of them. One of them failed because they charged an entrance fee, $1, and $1 was enough to keep people away. Some of them failed because they did it in the street, blocking the street off. That really alienated a lot of people by having the street blocked off. Other problems were cars parked overnight where you're supposed to set up your booth. How do you get the cars to move? The city won't tell them. Insurance, one of them failed. One of the ones I was a site manager at failed because the Chamber of Commerce was in the process of disintegrating and taking the money and running. And they pulled our insurance. So we had to scramble, get new insurance, reconstitute across the street from the post office. But by then, all the vendors got alienated and no vendors showed up. At the 3 that I sold at, farmers were in the minority. You need to have a bigger variety than just farmers. You need to have crafters, resellers, that will draw different people in, because not everybody wants to come there and buy the limited variety of produce that's available in Siskiyou County. Yeah, I think having it off-street would be better. The one that was off-street in the car lot on Minor Street, that was continuously harassed by the city due to signage. The city didn't want any signs up. That location was an excellent location because you could draw people off the freeway. If you put up a big farmer's market sign, you draw a lot of people in off the freeway, but the city said, oh no, you're limited to little tiny signs. So that's the way the city is hostile to farmers markets. Yeah, there's a lot of things to be worked out. And the city needs to really cooperate better.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for holding this informative session. My name is Nancy Swift, and I'm the Executive Director of JEDI, the Jefferson Economic Development Institute. And as a nonprofit, we host a Women's Business Center and other entrepreneurial training programs. We host a free tax preparation service called VITA, which has offices in Mount Shasta and up here in Wairika. And we also run the Mount Shasta Farmers Market, which this year is celebrating 25 years. It was started by farmers, it was started by vendors, and at some point when they retired and then sold their peach orchard, then they also wanted to retire from the farmers market, so they gave it to us. So we've been managing it for now 8 years. I'm here today to meet Deb and Guy and to also be a resource to any community that's wanting to improve their farmers market. It's really remarkable what Deb was presenting in terms of how transparent she was being about getting community interest and what her vision was. I'll tell you what ours is. And you can see all this on our website as well, Mount Shasta, all spelled out, farmersmarket.org. we have a very big mission to promote local agriculture. We call ourselves ag-centric and very eccentric. It's really important to us that we're promoting local agriculture, and by local, we do mean Siskiyou County. It costs us money as a certified farmers market when vendors come from other counties because of the CPC, the Certified Producer Certificate. But we also have a mission to be promoting the ag locally. And we're also very intent on being a strong business. So when you have your certified farmers market, you really do have to think about who's coming and how much are they going to spend and who's going to spend what and how is this a need met in the community, but also a need met for vendors who need a place to sell. So we've had a relationship with the city of Mount Shasta. It was referenced earlier. Ken Kellogg has been very supportive of us. We've gotten a couple of extra grants because of our relationship with the city, and they always give us a letter of support. And the money that you saw that we paid them, that's actually their special permit fee for 22 events across our season. And why I wanted to come here and talk about how important that could be for a community, I think you all already know. But for example, now that we have Discover Siskiyou, I don't know if you've noticed it, but a lot of their farmers market pictures have come from our market, and we benefit from the marketing that they're doing to the tourists. I'm sorry, darn, I had a couple more points. Is that okay or not?
Yeah, I'll let you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Tourists, we actually do a survey, and there are Market Umbrella that is a survey tool that cities can use to see who's showing up at the markets and why do they like them. So you've already got Deb though creating your surveys. So that's great. We have a lot of tourists, and they only come because we're located in the center of downtown Mount Shasta. We haven't always been in the same exact block. We have been on the main street. There's some problems with the big rigs. So that's why we ended up coming off of Mount Shasta Boulevard and into the East Castle Street parking lot. I will tell you that this year, the city came to us and they're discussing that they're buying a piece of property that they're going to make multi-use, and they would like for us to be one of those uses. And they're talking to us about how we could partner with them to build a year-round facility. And we are also contracting with another, I hope it's going to happen, but there's a commercial kitchen right nearby where vendors can be producing and also, they can be producing for the market. She already made the point about how this is a business incubator, but tourism is important. The relationship with the city is really important. And they've been the ones who have always worked with us at where to be located. So it's great she's coming with some ideas. And there's something very powerful about the city allowing a farmer's market in its downtown commercial area. The uses match, and it is a way to create vibrancy and really important. I'd like to be a resource to all of you, and I think that's all I'll say for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mike Norling. My wife and I moved here 3 years ago. Loved your town to start. We moved up from Stockton. Fresh local produce in Wairika is not like in the Central Valley, but there is some out there. The problem that we noticed was right off the bat, we started looking for farmers markets. We found the one in Wairika. I think there was like 3 booths there when we first went. It's grown, but it has not really expanded that much. And some of what is there is new stuff and not necessarily what I would consider produce. Next, we went to wheat. Actually, wheat was a pretty nice place. We enjoyed a lot of the produce we could get there, but it still was, we were leaving Wairika to go. And that's a shame. My wife and I like to garden. Yep. It's kind of like when I cook. We can't do it in a reasonable quantity. We tend to produce way too much. And we give away way too much just for that reason. Downtown would be really, really a nice location because one, it does afford a day that as word spreads, people, community will start hearing more about it. Come down. You have all the stores, you have the shops, you have the restaurants, you have all of that. If there's food trucks, they may or may not be in some kind of competition with the restaurants, but this is on a day that where the food truck's not there and the farmer's market not there, they wouldn't have all of those people coming down. They might later in the evening. I think it's an area that could help not only the people downtown and the businesses, but also get a lot of food into the area that people can access more easily. The fairgrounds, I mean, you got to have a car. Well, there are people that don't have cars and can't make that trip. And if they can, on a bike or whatever, they got to be ready. They got to haul back whatever they're going to go get. Here, it's accessible. That's basically all I've got right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Next.
My name is Michael Ehrlich. I moved up here 2.5 years ago from Petaluma. Petaluma has 2 farmers markets, at least during the height of the season, on 2 different days. And I am an aspiring vendor or a grower. And interestingly, I was in conversation with someone in Oregon, and he was very excited about having more vendors for Ashland or Grants Pass. And it would seem to me it would be a shame to sell to Oregon what's produced here. So I'm definitely in favor of a downtown. If I could wave my magic wand, Minor Street would be closed more often for other events as well. It seems like creating that walking downtown thing is it has a profound effect on the whole. If you have events, if there's reasons for people to be there. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Bonnie Wood, and I just wanted to speak today about my support for farmers markets in general, for farmers in general, and for what the potential this kind of availability of local food, what it has to offer to our community. We've all recently been through COVID, the whole thing, supply chain breakdown. We live in a very remote area, and yet we haven't really maybe come to the conclusion that maybe it would be important that we have a local food supply that keeps us healthy, that makes us stronger, that makes us more resilient and more independent. When we don't support our farmers, there's a food security problem, and it's happening all over the world, just so you know. And if we don't address it here in our community, in the long run, we're going to be sorry. So I support the farmers markets. I support what they're doing. And not only do I support it, but I think it is vital because it's part of our history here. I'm a newbie. I've only been in the county for 21 years. However, the reason I moved here was because of my belief in this community to be resilient, to be strong, to be independent, and to, come together around things that we all value. And I happen to value food, which is why I've been a gardener all my life. My very first little fruit stand I opened up on the corner of where I lived when I was 8 years old, because I happened to have a garden in my backyard, and we had more apricots and blackberries and we could eat. So I would wait for the little people that were coming back from work and I'd put out my little TV stand and I'd be like selling my little fruits and vegetables. So this goes deep in my veins. And I respect this community and what it has to offer for us to be as independent and resilient as we can be. And food is the foundation of all of that, I just want to say.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Hey, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Danielle Cannon. I am not a new transplant, but I am newly returned, which I hope will bring a little bit of a different perspective here today. My family's been here for almost 150 years, but I only moved back in August and took over Zephyr downtown. And I did it because I love the community of Wairika and I just want to be a part of it. And I think what I want to talk about is kind of three parts of Wairika. There's the reputation of Wairika, the reality of Wairika, and the possibilities of Wairika. Now, moving here and having a lot of customers come through and talking with other business owners downtown Minor Street, I can tell you the reputation among people who live here, notwithstanding these folks here who love and care about Wairika, it's terrible. It's a terrible reputation. I've heard so many people talk about there's nothing to do here. There's nowhere to go. There's no businesses. They want to go to Ashland on the weekends because Ashland has local goods and small businesses and a cool, vibrant little downtown. And it's wild because obviously, as a bunch of people have talked about, there are some amazing craftsmen here. There are amazing farmers. There are amazing local goods and local foods available. And that's actually the reality, is that there's so much to do, and yet no one really thinks about doing it. No one sticks around to do it. And I think that to be able to invest in our community in such a way where we're highlighting all of the incredible work that small time people are doing in our small town is unbelievably amazing. So I've lived in Southern California, I've lived in the Bay Area, I've lived in several cities that close down their downtowns, their entire downtowns on the day of their farmers market every week. Some of those are year round. And I will tell you, it does not reduce traffic to downtown, it only increases traffic downtown. It's unbelievable how many people will come out when they feel like there's something special that's here for them, that's built for them. The city I used to live in actually closed down their downtown during COVID, and they left it shut down because it was so vibrant because people wanted to dig into their local downtown area. And I just think that so much of that is more like marketing and informational than it is reality, because there are some really cool people here in town. And I think a downtown farmers market would bring out those people in a really big way. And it would afford us all the opportunity to get to see the cool work already being done. The plan that Debbie's put together is really clean. It's really clear. And honestly, I've never heard of a city that hasn't thrived as a result of a downtown farmers market. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Do we have any other public comment?
Guy Scott, Debbie's husband. Everything starts with a vision, right? I mean, think about most things in life start with a vision. And, we met you guys at Farmers Market. I don't know if you remember me, but you had a great thing going on there. We loved it. We loved working next to you. And the fact that Farmers Market has failed 6 or 7 times makes me think that's a pretty good impetus of why people want a farmers market. It's not the failure, it's the desire to have it. 7 different times at 7 different groups, people wanted to get his farmers market to go. So I think, it's a thing in progress. And I mean, how many times did Abraham Lincoln run for president before he won? You know what I mean? If you know your history, like 3 times. I mean, we don't always get everything right the first time, and not everything is bulletproof. Like what Debbie showed us there's going to be problems. We're not saying there's not going to be problems. There's going to be inequities and everything. And those are the things that you work through. Those are the things you work through. So I want to say this. So for 30 years, I was a contractor here in Wairika, mainly Wairika, but the whole county. I didn't know anything about small business or resale, nothing. So my wife talked me into opening the store, right? And I'm like, sell coffee, me, a barista? You know, I'm used to painting walls or framing up, you know. So the thing that amazed me the most about being on Minor Street, because I had no previous experience at all, was the amount of tourists that came in our store. Like, I'm sure we could ask Kimberly or Danielle, if it wasn't for tourists, I know Zephyrs, we would have had a hard time making it. I would say that 25% of our business after school stopped and right before the holidays were people coming off of I-5. And they learned to know where our store was, and people would come off our store. Now it's not our store anymore, it's Danielle's store. And if we had a vibrant downtown farmers market, that number is going to jump. And it's going to feed the merchants on Minor Street. I'm telling you, it will. So I knew nothing. And then I met, standing behind that bar making lattes for 6 years, I met people I would have never met ever in my life. People coming from the Bay Area, mainly going to Portland and Eugene, and then people coming back, and they would stop and they would bring their families. And you know what? Some of those people bought property here. They did. I'm not saying a lot of them, but some of them did. And some of them over time matriculated into our community. So just from a business standpoint, I think it's a smart move. It doesn't cost the city hardly anything. And yet you've heard everybody else's arguments about how it builds and brings people together. And I think that's what, you know, I've only been here 30 years, so I'm still a flatlander. You know, guys like Matt were born here. You know, they still look at me like he's a foreigner or something, but I think this is a good thing. I really do. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Guy, for that, and I appreciate that. And I'm going to go ahead and is there any more public comment? Okay, come on. No, you're fine. Come on forward.
I
You're
don't
fine.
normally speak at these things, but my name is Kelly Alvarado. I actually work at Zephyr Books and Coffee. And as a younger person, my husband and I, we always have to go to Oregon to go somewhere nice, go to a farmer's market. I mean, it's really nice, the atmosphere there. But it would be really nice to have that here downtown. And I agree with Guy Scott. I get a lot of tourists coming through, getting coffee, you know, on the way up to Oregon or on the way down. And a lot ask what it's like to live here. What are the things that you like to do here? And, you know, I say, oh, well, if you travel this way, you can go and do that. Travel that way, you can do this and that. But here, I don't know. There really isn't much. And as far as farmers markets goes, it's just not a very lively place, especially for the youth here. I think it would be a nice, safer place. I mean, it's once a week. I think that's doable. And the cost, I think it's worth it. And the parking, I mean, people can walk here and it's right off the freeway. So tourists, easy to see. People getting off work, it's a great thing to spend your time doing. So that's all. Sorry if that was disorganized. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Cal, go ahead and close the public comment section of 4B. And I want to appreciate everybody for being here to be able to give their opinions and their thoughts. I too am a Flatlander. I have been here 38 years. So I'm just, you know, give me another 50 or 60 and then I will not be a Flatlander anymore. I, like Michael, moved up from the Imperial Valley. And where I had not paid for a vegetable for 30 years of my life. My dad grew all row crops and everybody around us grew row crops. I grew up in a town much smaller, 1800, or outside of a town of 1800, much smaller than Wairika, because everybody says, oh, you grew up in a big town. There's no small towns in Southern California. Well, there are. So, I mean, there are great merits to having a farmer's market to be able to get fresh produce, because what we get up here is not fresh. It's been vacuum cooled. Right now, the lettuce you're getting comes out of a field about a week and a half ago in the Imperial County or sometimes the Mexicali Valley. And it comes to us, well, you know as well, you grew up in the Imperial Valley. And 90% of your winter iceberg lettuce comes out of the Imperial Valley. 100% of your winter carrots come out of the Imperial Valley. You'll see them up in the Central Valley, but they are being trucked from Imperial County, where they'll be trucked 600 miles to a plant where then they are then processed. So there is definitely merit to having fresh produce. I understand from the other standpoint, what we have been looking at the city is we're looking at trying to contain costs while allowing things like this to go on. And so that'll be something that the council will need to look at it. Do you need anything? Do I have anybody on the finance committee? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run you over. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think the biggest question marks were really, maybe we can direct towards public works as far as, I think the biggest inconvenience here, if you take away the financials, the scheduling of the shutdown and reopening of the road.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Matthew Bray. I'm the Director of Public Works. I'm for it. I'm just one voice of many. I think our town needs something like that. My world, my job, my career is to uphold the municipal codes that were set by this council and prior councils for decades and decades. So when I look at my involvement in this from the public works side, there is a liability concern, which is a big bummer to talk about publicly, but it's real. This is America. We're very litigious. In the past, we've had multiple questions of shutdowns. In the past, we've shut down. Sometimes we put a cop car, or sometimes we put barricades in it, and it's worked. And we've been lucky, and no one's been hurt, and those barricades haven't been run through. So that it leads me down to this. We have the option of looking into our design immunity policy with our legal team. And I would direct the finance committee or ask the finance committee to look into that probably before taking it on a little further to council, just so you have an understanding of what you're entering into. Now, there is a legal manner in which the city can adopt a street closure and essentially walk away from the liability issue of it. So that is my primary point that I want to speak to. We have some set road closure plans in place that were created by the city engineering team. We like to use those. We don't have to use those every time, but we like to use those because they were engineered, and we can stand on that immunity policy with them. The citizens and set up and tear down, same kind of deal. It's not my call to make. That's a legal decision. We've discussed it in the past. In the past, I've had legal tell us, no, you have to have trained professionals, trained public works people to do that. But I'm hearing that Mount Shasta is doing it with some training. And again, that's possibly a design immunity policy question that I can't answer right now because we haven't allowed it in the past. Previous councils haven't allowed it. I will just clarify that this council is not the last council that I worked with, and there was a council before that and a council before that. So when we talk about the city didn't let us do it, you're talking about 5 other people that aren't here anymore. So I just wanted to clarify that point. We've got supportive staff. I've got guys that will volunteer for the overtime hours on the shutdown if it is decided that the city's going to do it, the setup and tear down. Typically, we can get that scheduled in It's similar to years ago when we still had our beloved concert in the park. And when I started off in the parks, and I would go help set up the stage at 2 o'clock in the afternoon after we got it mowed out, and I'd come back at 8 or 9 o'clock at night to help the guys tear it down. So Public Works is supportive of events for the community. I know we can make that part happen. Event closure barricades we used to have back in the day, they were just standard. I don't know where they went. They didn't have a city logo on them because those were used for non-city sponsored events. So I have that question. If it does turn out that it's a city sponsored event, then we could possibly use those the barricades that we use. They come straight out of our streets crew. So they get a little rotten here and there and beat up, but like I say, we had a set of 36 event closure barricades that we used back in the day. So I would like to, if this moves forward, I'd like to explore the cost of that, of having that set up. I've always envisioned it as a local kid, getting that back downtown. I'm old enough to remember T-shirt down and all that stuff back in the 70s. I've also looked at if there was a group that was strong enough and well put together enough to pull this thing off. I've seen it done in other cities where you put in like a permanent closure barrier that can be opened, something turnstile-ish or something, some gates, something like that, that fits in with the downtown decor and yet can be lifted when there's not anything happening downtown. Those were the notes I had from what I heard you all say and my thoughts on the matter.
Thank you very much. Ms. Aldrich? Ms. Hogan? Colleen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would love to see this happen, and I am a member of this committee, but I am not a voting member, obviously, of the city council. So I would advocate that we internally look into the legality of using volunteers to close the street. If I'm understanding correctly, if that's not an option, it sounds like Public Works would be able to accommodate. And then I am, I guess, stating we should move this on to a future city council meeting where we can work with Debbie Scott to see what works best with her calendar to have a very similar presentation to the city council. That's what I'm advocating for.
I would advocate that you go ahead with that, but I would advocate for Finance Committee that we get a definition of what is a city-sponsored event, because I know there are 3 or 4 different definitions. I don't see, me personally, don't see anything that we do as city-sponsored. And you know that, we've had this discussion before, but there are a lot of people that do see 3 or 4 events as city-sponsored, but other ones that we help with are not city-sponsored. So I think we need to, just for Finance Committee's sake, we need to know what our definition of city-sponsored is. So along with that, so.
Yeah, and I see Alia is writing that down, and I think when we come back to talk about events, maybe we can talk about that at that time, because I personally think that will help clarify the future of this city, because I know that we had the Beef and Brew event took place, right? That's not a city event, but I think that there's opportunities to really define what a city event is. And in the world that I personally live in, it's a farmer's market. That's a city event. I mean, that's the San Luis Obispo Farmers Market. It's a night of lights. It's Gold Rush days. It's the holiday parade. So I think that that's not defined currently. And I think that's what your point is. And I think that would be helpful to help set that policy, because as it was pointed out here in the audience, we're subsidizing events. And I think if we had a policy that basically showcased we subsidize these events and we don't subsidize any other events because they're not city events, that would be a lot easier for staff to engage folks that want to do special events. So we'll bring that back to Finance Committee the next time we meet. I don't think we have anything set yet. And then we will work with Deb to look at maybe late March or early April to come back to City Council.
Sooner the better.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Thank you, Deb. And thank you, everybody, for being here. So we do have one other item, just so you know. So you don't have to stay for it. I'm just saying we have one other item.
We're gonna file out then. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, I gotta get moving real quick. Item 4A is discussion regarding Siskiyou Works City of Wairika Partnership, Community Building Project, and Convening Space.
I'm gonna go ahead and lead this one off for Miss Caldwell, but I think that we have seen, this city, the city council has recently approved the Carnegie project to move forward with the Economic Development Council. And we know that we have some level of interest in development happening on Minor Street. But we also know that we're not currently doing economic redevelopment. And so having talked with Maria a little bit, I think that there's opportunities we should be exploring with nonprofits that offer services to the community and that plan on being within the community for a number of years. And that there's an opportunity for the city to start taking over, having a direct impact on Minor Street in the downtown corridor by helping facilitate that. And so without further ado, here's Miss Caldwell.
Thanks, Jason. Well, hello, my name is Marie Caldwell and I'm the Executive Director of Siskiyou Works. Some of you know me because I went to school with you. Some of you know me because I worked with you. Some of you know me because you were a student. So that's kind of like a wide span. So I would say that I am probably still a Flatlander because I only came in 6th grade, but did happen to be a graduate from Montague Elementary. Ooh, Montague. And Wairika High School. So I'm here today to just briefly talk with you about partnering with Siskiyou Works. Siskiyou Works is a nonprofit 501c3 that serves as the collective impact backbone for Siskiyou County. And I talked about that a little bit in my proposal. I don't know if you got to read it, but basically what that means is we set a neutral table to bring multi-agency nonprofits together and businesses often around a barrier. Typically that barrier has to do with workforce, economic development, training, community building. So I have 3 asks of the Finance Committee today. One, I'm hopeful that you would be open to me coming to the City Council and establishing a formal partnership with Siskiyou Works as an ongoing partner to develop and help build community. It is in line with what you just adopted at the City Council. It is in line with a lot of the other projects you're entertaining. One, the EDC's Carnegie Library project. Hopefully future economic and business development on Minor Street in the downtown area. The farmers market was one example of that. And it also would directly support workforce development and to address some of the challenging empty spots in our workforce. I don't know if you're familiar with the job list that STEP originally sponsored. They came to us when STEP folded and we held the sponsorship for that job list over the last 4 years. And then the person who does that list, actually we transitioned her to Siskiyou Adult Ed Consortium and she's still continuing the list. But almost every week it comes out with a minimum of 10 to 20 open jobs. And those jobs are often at city, county, and state and federal agencies, which is a primary employment agent for a lot of our folks. So Siskiyou Works really helps to link what's happening on the job list, what's happening in business, what's happening in our agencies for workforce with our education systems, our K-12, K-16 education systems. As I flagged in the memo that I sent you, we've secured just a little under 13 million. Oh no, a little bit more than about $14 million over the last 4 years. part of that was the 6 million baht that we secured about 10 years ago as part of the CCPT grant, directly to support our K-16 systems, kindergarten through bachelor degree programs here in Siskiyou County. That's money that came directly to Siskiyou County, much of it to Wairika. So I guess that's my selling point, like partner with us so we can continue to go after more money, continue to align our systems, not just the city systems, but K-12, our county, other cities. Why we're based in Wairika, so that's a reason why I'm coming to you all first. The county has been involved as well. They approved our workforce resolution 4 years ago. We'll be going back to them to renew that resolution as we've kind of morphed and changed and expanded. So that's the first. We would love to see a formalized partnership with the city. We were also recently invited to prepare to apply for some discretionary funds out of the Senator Padilla's office. So in order to prepare for that, we need to get those resolutions in order and make sure that we have solid support for both our county and our city entities. So we're hopeful that you would be open to that. The second ask is a little bit more in depth, and that's we are looking at a office space and convening space here in the city of Wairika. So we would like to locate that in the downtown area. We've looked at about 2 buildings, possibly a third, that would work really well. And we were hoping that in partnership with City of Wairika, you would entertain a purchase or a partnership whereby we purchase to develop and make that one of the anchor buildings to help development in the downtown area. Similarly to what Jason talked about at the EDC. There are empty buildings right now on Minor Street. There's one really awful eyesore sitting on the corner of Minor and Oregon that can be purchased at a relatively good price. That could be done either by our nonprofit or by the city, and then for future. We have partners with foundations and, as I say, other grant opportunities to be able to update and redo those buildings. But we'd like to partner with the city to do that. It would stretch our dollar, for one, much farther, and it would offer a benefit to the city. I recently spoke with another person who is looking to purchase a building in that downtown area. And, you know, one of the thoughts is there is that building on the corner of Minor and Oregon is an eyesore. The building behind it is really gross. But if the city bought both of those buildings, we could partner to help redo and improve the front. Siskiyou Works could. We could knock down that ugly brown building and provide additional parking, pass-through access to the EDC space, and support for all the events at the Elks Lodge, all the events that could possibly happen on Minor. Because I don't know if you've been on Minor lately, but when something happens at the Elks, it's almost impossible to find parking. So that could add some additional parking. That's my second ask. So partnership, partner with us to buy a building, help develop it. I think big picture, if the city was open to purchasing, we could develop it and improve it significantly. And it would then be a space for convening for events, small space, not big, but something that could be an anchor spot on Minor Street. It could also help to align and support other nonprofits that are either needing space or needing convening space. And then the final ask would be embedded in any sort of partnership. One, we're working closely with the county on a homeless to home or an unhoused to house, but it's a workforce program that would align to support those unhoused individuals that are ready to be off the street to overcome some of their barriers. So we're looking at some grant funding right now that would help employ a workforce development person, help purchase a van. We already have the program up and running in all of our high schools and at College of the Siskiyous. So it's really tweaking that program, that soft skills and technical skills program to support those that are unhoused and are ready to take that step. This is modeled after a program in Reno called Reno Works, which I thought was interesting. They've had very high success. They partnered with their city and county, and they have an 85% success rate of cohorts of 12, and they are on their 8th cohort of 12 to come through the program and secure those soft skills, employment, and eventually housing. So that's one of the programs. The second is to develop and deploy both pre-apprentice and apprenticeship programs. Right now, we don't have apprenticeship programs in Siskiyou County. There are significant funding options and opportunities coming down from the state and the feds to support pre-apprentice and apprentice. This is really in line with what I think the culture sometimes of our county is, oh, 4-year school, that's for the other people, that's not for us. And apprenticeship could be a way to help those students who are not into going straight to a 4-year school, maybe not even ready to go full-time to a community college, but really step in and go for a stackable certificate mentality where they can start in a work position. Right now, we have quite a few open positions, particularly in wastewater management, in city maintenance and county maintenance. Those can all be worked to an apprentice model. And once we pilot a program, get it established as a federal and a state apprentice program, there are funding models to be able to help support that. So that's the other piece. And then finally, I come back to the purchasing an anchor building to help support the development of downtown. If you look at what happened in Reading, the downtown area, that downtown development did not happen without a significant city investment and almost like seed funding to get it going. It would be lovely to walk downtown on a Saturday and see lots and lots of different types of people wandering up and down Minor Street. Right now, it's pretty deserted. Just a side note, I happen to be sitting in Zephyrs on the holiday on President's Day with 2 other local gals, and we were talking about a project we had moving forward, a workforce development project. And we were sitting there, and after about 20 minutes, we recognized, holy crud, we didn't know a single person coming into Zephyrs. They were all non-local folks. So just as a side note, if we had more buildings, more spaces like that, like an anchor building, like what's going to happen with EDC, like what we'd like to do with the Siskiyou Works building, you would generate more traffic so that people, when they do show up on Minor Street, they're not like, oh, there's nobody here. Great. Is it anything actually open? You would have more people downtown in that downtown corridor. So that's my spiel. And I'd love to just develop it further if this is something that the city is interested in.
Thank you very much. So I need to open it up now for public comment. So.
As Lorenzo Love, as the only taxpayer bothered to show up, I'd like to know why my tax dollars should go to buy them a building, since they obviously have plenty of money. Buy them a building, it's going to duplicate what the Carnegie Library is doing, which we already funded. So this is the duplication as far as I can see. And I don't see how having a office is going to increase the foot traffic in Minor Street. This seems like they could do an office in the Carnegie Library and accomplish their goals. Having the city yet again shell out big bucks for somebody's to have their little kingdom, their little building of their own. they need to get grants. They need to pay for it themselves. I support the idea of having the building, not the city buying it for them. The homeless to home, apprentice programs, those sound great. They're not going to be downtown. They should be at COS. This seems like just another boondoggle.
Thank you, Lorenzo. I'm looking for any more public comment. There being none, I will go ahead and close public comment and open it up to the Finance Committee.
Yeah, this is Jason Ledbetter. So I just wanted to state, excuse me, that I think we're just at this conceptual space right now with the request from Siskiyou Works and really with the Finance Committee. Is this an idea we should flesh out? Is there an opportunity? Are there grants? Are there economic redevelopment dollars available that we could partner with Siskiyou Works and really not cost the city anything to go make a purchase like this and facilitate rehabbing another historic building on Minor Street that can basically place folks in an office space, not only to really amplify the service that they provide for the community, but also you need a mix of downtown. You can't just have all bars. You can't just have all restaurants. You can't just have all coffee shops. You need some level of office work, such as ENS that's down there and EDC that will be down there to really stand up your lunch places, to stand up your coffee shop. So really, I think this is we're just at the very beginning of a discussion as to, does it make sense for staff to work with Siskiyou Works and kind of flesh something out over multiple months? I don't think there's any race here at all. But do we want to invest that time to look at these requests and see if we can facilitate something with grant funding?
So, so do you want this to, do we have any thoughts from Emily or Retta? I know you probably don't want to get in, it's not public works right now. Or from Alia? Anything anybody wants to add?
I think I would just come in with helping identify grants and applying for those if this is something we wanted to move forward with. But other than that, I think it's for the rest of the Finance Committee to discuss.
Yeah. So I think what we probably need to do is just maybe give some direction to the city staff to see if they can flesh out any grants or any grant money or something like that to see what's out there, or is that too broad of a?
If I just might,
Sure.
it would be really helpful if it was had a comfort level with the Finance Committee to move forward on a proposal that would formalize a partnership between the city of Wairika and Siskiyou Works, and or be willing to approve a resolution in support of the collective impact project. That would be a great first step. One, because it puts us in line for additional grant funding that doesn't necessarily come to the city, but we would be able to go after in support of projects that the city might have. Like even sitting listening to the farmers market, I'm thinking, oh gosh, if we had student interns, but those things cost money, and these are items that can be funded through various discretionary funds at the state and federal level. But having a formalized partnership is important to know that we are truly have the support of the city to continue developing the workforce and continue developing community spaces.
Marie, would that look like an MOU kind of thing of understanding of kind of the roles and responsibilities?
Exactly. It would also flesh out specifically like going at what it looks like to go after grants, right? Who's going to write what grant? What portion of the money would come to a city versus the nonprofit, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Formalize it.
Go ahead. Go ahead. What you said MOU, right?
Right,
You're
so
saying-
I
so what-
guess kind of the ask would be, would the finance committee want us to kind of, as Jason said earlier, kind of flesh out what this might look like expend some resources with Marie on what that might evolve
Yeah.
into, and then bring that back.
I think that, and bring it back to finance committee
We
or
could.
bring it back to council. Which one? Probably doesn't need to come back to finance, does it?
We could, sure.
I would just come back here just to see if, because we'll have, if Miss Baker's here, we'll have two council members, and this is a good testing ground to see if it makes sense. And I think that's a good starting point. Just getting, if you've done this with somebody else, if you have a template, and then we'll come back to a future meeting and staff will work and kind of iron it out, but we'll have possibly more questions of that MOU.
As a council member, I'd be comfortable with that, but remember, this isn't, I'm not the only one on here, nor is Ms. Baker. There's three others, so, that are, so but I'd be comfortable with that. I'm also more comfortable with bringing it back so that, somebody else has a chance to look at it. They may not agree with me at all.
Do you think that the council would be open to approving a resolution in support of Siskiyou Works as, and the workforce development project and program that has been approved at the county level already by the county Board of Supervisors? Or would you prefer looking at the MOU as more comprehensive than a resolution to support?
I think either one. I think the resolution, since you already have that, is a good starting point. Maybe we take a look at that first and see if that would work for us as well, and then we just bring that back to the finance committee. I mean, I think that's where, we've talked, obviously, and so it's unfortunately like, this is my general plan here is to really plan this thing out over the long haul here. There's no race. And so starting with the resolution, bringing that back to the finance committee and seeing if we want to expand that to an MOU instead, and then formally taking that to the city council, I think works for me. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Yes, I'm fine with that. Let's go ahead and proceed that way.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Marie. Let's see here. Did you want to discuss a date for a future meeting? I know we need one more. You want to wait?
Yeah, let's wait and collect our
That's fine.
stuff and make sure we pick a good date for everybody.
Okay. So then we are adjourned at 15:28.